Welcome to Catherine Furnace, an iron blast furnace built in 1837 and now a part of the Chancellorsville battlefield of the Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania National Military Park. At this site, iron ore was melted down into pig iron, a product which could be easily shipped and later reheated and cast into different finished pieces. The iron smelting process began here at the coal house. Iron ore would be stored here along with the charcoal used to fuel the furnace in order to protect both from the elements. The iron ore would have been mined from local deposits, even as close as a few hundred feet from the stack. From here, workers would move the iron ore to the furnace itself. Access from the top of Furnace Hill, as the hill was known, was provided by the bridge house. The bridge house allowed workers access to the top of the stack, where the iron ore would be dumped in to begin the smelting process known as charging the furnace. Based on archaeological analysis, it is estimated that the furnace's circular stack was likely around 36 feet tall. While the stack is the only feature of the complex still visible today, it would not have been visible while the furnace was in operation in the mid-19th century. Instead, the circular stack would have been encased in a structure made of mortared sandstone blocks in a sort of truncated pyramid shape. A platform at the top of the pyramid would give workers a place to work and access the top of the stack from. A flux would be mixed with the iron ore in the stack in order to help the iron separate from the impurities present in the ore. Records from furnace owner John Welford show that the most common flux in use at the site was oyster shells. In order to make the smelting process work, however, another material was needed. Charcoal, likely made near the site by enslaved workers and/or employees of the furnace, was used to heat it. Once the furnace had been preheated and the iron ore, flux, and fuel added to the stack, air was forced into the bottom of the stack in order to increase the heat in the furnace. A small steam engine, housed in the adjacent engine house, would have ensured that the air entering the furnace was hot enough for the smelting process. Once the iron ore had melted, the liquid iron would pool at the bottom of the stack. When enough iron pooled, the furnace's founder would be responsible for tapping it, which typically occurred about twice a day while in blast. After checking for charcoal and ore debris, the molten iron could be released from the furnace and would follow trenches of wet sand into the cast house. In the cast house, the molten iron would be cast into pig iron, named so because the iron bars coming off the main channel looked like piglets suckling at a sow. Once hardened, the pig iron would be dug out of the sand molds and often shipped off to be remelted and cast into different products such as stoves and plows. Some remelting and casting did happen on site, however, as the cupola furnaces behind the main furnace did allow the pig iron and scrap iron to be melted into munitions such as ball and other consumer products. It should be noted that the furnace did not exist in isolation. Other structures were needed to support it. A boarding house at the top of the hill, for example, provided a place of lodging for hired enslaved workers, while white workers would have had separate residences elsewhere near the site. Other support buildings included an office, a pattern house, a ball house, and last but certainly not least, a blacksmith shop. Catherine Furnace would struggle after the death of owner John Welford in late 1846. It would see a brief revival during the Civil War in order to produce iron for the Confederacy, before completely fizzling out not long after the end of the war. Within a few decades, the site would fall to ruins, as a 1935 archaeological excavation found only foundations of the buildings besides the main furnace stack. Today, visitors to the Chancellorsville battlefield of the Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania National Military Park can still see the remains of the stack for themselves, which stands as only a small fragment of the once large complex.